Founder Hans Wilsdorf was born in Germany but moved to Switzerland when he was young. There he found work at a watch exporting company in La Chaux-de-Fonds, one of the centres of the Swiss horological industry. He then moved to London, where in 1905 he and a brother-in-law, Alfred Davis, established Wilsdorf and Davis Limited to assemble and market watches using works imported from Switzerland. At a time when most men still wore large pocket watches and considered wristlet watches, as they were then called, to be slightly effeminate, Wilsdorf, the dominant partner, staked his company's future on the wristwatch. In 1914, in an early display of his considerable talent for generating publicity, Wilsdorf had the British government certify a Rolex as the first wristwatch to pass a test for durability and accuracy that was customarily given only to marine chronometers. The company was renamed Rolex Watch Co. Limited in 1915. Rolex opened a Geneva office in 1919 and soon afterward moved headquarters to Switzerland and adopted the French language corporate name of Montrez Rolex SA. Rolex registered the 5-spiked crown as its trademark in 1925 while steadily improving its product. In 1926, the company introduced a waterproof and airtight Oyster model, the Oyster Perpetual, said to be the first self-winding wristwatch, followed 5 years later. In 1956, Rolex introduced the Milgauss, a watch especially resistant to magnetization, a phenomenon that can reduce accuracy. The company also carried a less expensive line of watches called Tudor, which it had introduced in 1952. Wilsdorf died in 1960, leaving company ownership in the hands of the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, a Swiss charitable trust he had set up in 1944. In later years, the foundation continued to control the company, which remained privately held. Into the 21st century, Rolex kept its name in the news and burnished its name by sponsoring sporting events in such fields as motor racing, yacht racing, and equestrianism. Why Rolex is so successful? Fame. Rolex is clearly the most well-known among the world's luxury watch brands. You've heard of it even if you've never heard anything about Omega or Breitling or even Patek Philippe. Fundamentally, there are two Rolex customer groups, those who know a lot and those who know very little. Aficionados buy Rolex for its extremely high quality. They may be less interested in its extremely fine, complicated craftsmanship in favor of having the best all-round watch for daily wear. Other Rolex customers don't know much about watches, only that Rolex is the best. For them, the primary motivator is this: if you're going to wear a watch, it's got to be a Rolex. And this is a huge compliment for the manufacturer, because if even a person who knows nothing about watches views one specific brand as number one, the company is doing something right. Design and recognition. The everyday wearability of a watch is a function of its design. The round shape of a Rolex contributes to its water resistance and its superior legibility. Add to this a central sweep, seconds hand, and Cyclops date magnifier. Existing collections are maintained and continuously improved over the years. There are no sudden design shifts or leaps, and even case sizes are altered only very gradually. Typical design features like the grooved bezel, Mercedes hands, Cyclops magnifier, and the Oyster bracelet are part of several different models and have rarely undergone change, so a Datejust or a Submariner today looks very much like earlier models. It's why it is always easy to recognize a Rolex from a distance. Artificial shortages. The pinnacle of desirability is achieved when the thing one wants is not available. The famous Daytona in steel is for many such an object of desire ever since an early version appeared on the wrist of Hollywood star Paul Newman. Rolex brings approximately as many models into stores as it expects to sell. The result is long waiting list, the often unfruitful hunt for the world's most desirable watch only adds to the Rolex myth. Marketing and communication. Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf was a marketing genius. He chose a name that was easy to pronounce in many different languages and made sure this name was printed on the dial, not entirely common at a time when customer loyalty was to the dealer, not the manufacturer. Wilsdorf called his water-resistant watch the Oyster and gave a Rolex to a swimmer who planned to swim the English Channel, which she wore around her neck. The story landed him a full-page advertisement on the front page of the Daily Mail. Rolex marketing approaches have a more subtle touch. Beginning in the late 1970s, it emphasizes its presence in prestigious sports such as tennis and golf, automobile racing, equestrian sports, and sailing. Rolex has also been the official timekeeper at Wimbledon since 1978. Rolex has been present at the US Open since 1980 and for Formula One since 2013, clearly showing that Rolex represents sports and success. Long-term strategic thinking. Rolex always makes a solid and composed impression. The company stays true to its proven methods and chooses to make continuous improvements instead of pursuing the new and different. Part of the brand's mythology rests on the fact that Rolex did not jump on the quartz watch bandwagon in the 1970s, even though there were some quartz Rolex watches. The company does not produce complicated watches such as tourbillons or repeaters, only very rarely launches new collections and stays away from online sales. New technology such as silicon parts in its movements are developed very slowly and used very conservatively. Smart watches or smart features are unthinkable. This makes the brand predictable for the customers and also protects the brand from missteps. The company does not make a big deal when introducing new products at Baselworld each spring. While other manufacturers boldly announce world records, hold press conferences featuring celebrities, or present 70 brand new products, Rolex quietly works on detailed improvements, larger cases, improved movements, ceramic bezels, and now and again a new color. Even innovations such as these are discussed among Rolex fans hotly and not without controversy. And regarding personal contact, Rolex often comes across as inscrutable and oyster-like, beginning with its production facilities for watches in Geneva and for movements in Biel, which customers and journalists rarely get to see from the inside, and ending with the CEO who, as a rule, gives no interviews. Overall, Rolex has been consistent in their success through the past decade, but I want to ask you, the viewer, what your thoughts and opinions of Rolex are. Do you have a Rolex watch, or is there another watchmaker that you prefer? Please let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up, share this video with your friends and family, and please subscribe. I'm fascinated and curious as to what you might say. As always, I'll see you in the comments below. Thank you for watching.